Hey all, welcome to Fitting and Homemaking. My name is Sarah. It is very lovely to have you here. Today's video is going to be a little bit different from my normal videos. As you can see, we're in the bedroom. The bed's a bit of a mess, and that is because we are going to be changing up the bed today. So I didn't feel the need to make it this morning when we got out. So it's going to be a little bit of a different video because today is going to be much more of a chatty video. And I am going to be sharing a little bit more about myself than I do generally in my other videos. If that is not of interest to you, please go ahead and click off. You're more than welcome to do that. Make sure you subscribe and hit the notification bell though, so that you know when another video comes out that is more in my normal range. But today what I wanted to talk about is changing up this bed. May not seem like a very big deal to most people, but it is kind of a massive deal to me, and it is very much an opportunity for growth that I am trying to take and starting somewhat of an experiment, I guess we will say. So I've always been incredibly particular about how I like my bed made. I grew up making it a certain way, and now essentially if it is not made that way, I feel uncomfortable to the point where I cannot physically relax enough to sleep. Yes, I understand that that is not normal. I do acknowledge that. But yeah, so I have never lived with one of my partners before until my husband and I moved in together. So this was a massive non-issue for most of my life. I was the only one in charge of making the bed. I would just make it how I liked it, right? No problem. So when my husband moved in or we moved in together, I guess would be the better way to say that, I warned him about two things that I'm very particular about. One, I don't like other people doing my laundry. I just like to know what is in which cycle. I know what goes in the dryer, what doesn't go in the dryer. I know what I need for the upcoming week. It's just a thing. I feel like that's not as abnormal. I feel like a lot of people feel like laundry is kind of a personal thing, especially when it comes to underclothes. So I said, one, you'll never need to do my laundry. Like, don't, even if you're trying to be nice, just please choose something else, right? Two, you don't ever need to make the bed. And I explained to him, I'm very particular about how the bed is made. If it is not made that way, I will not be able to sleep. I will get up and I will remake it. And I know that seems unhinged, maybe, and it could possibly be offensive if he was the person to make the bed, because then it's like a little bit kind of passive aggressively saying, hey, you didn't do this right. And he offered, when I told him that, to learn how to make it the particular way that I liked, right? Because he's a very nice guy. He's like unicorn. If you watched that movie with Jennifer Aniston and Vince Vaughn from ages and ages ago, about how they get into that argument and she's like, I don't want you to do the dishes. I want you to want to do the dishes. My husband is the guy who wants to do the dishes to help me out, or just to, take his fair share of the household chore load. But yeah, so he's a unicorn in that sense, and I very much appreciated the offer, but I kind of tried to explain to him, it's not even the fact that you could learn the way to do it, and that's not because he is incapable of learning. Of course he could learn the way to do it, but deep down in my soul, I would not know if it was done correctly or not, quote unquote correctly, because there's really no super correct way to make a bed unless you're in the military, and or hospital, I guess. Anyhow, sidetracked. I would always be checking that bed before I got in it. Hell, I sometimes check the bed after I have made it in the morning to make sure that it is still in the same state before I get into bed. So understand that that is craziness. So just telling him that, it's like, it's not anything to do with you. This is my specific level of crazy to a certain extent. Very much appreciate the offer, but just please don't, essentially. It's not you. It's definitely me in this situation. Fully acknowledge that. So that has served us okay over the years. He just knows, oh, Sarah's going to make the bed. Fine. You don't have to worry about it. That's a thing she has. Well, the other night we were having a nice chat and I was making the bed. And so he, instead of just standing there and watching me do chores, joined in and was helping me make the bed. And I said, hey babe, you really don't need to do that. Remember, I like it a particular way. It's not a big deal. Essentially kind of saying, please stop helping. And of course that ruined the nice, chatty, friendly teamwork mood that we had going on, which is understandable. And at that point, I realized, you know what? Maybe it really is time that I address this and maybe try to have some personal growth in this area. So I, of course, apologized, and my husband apologized back saying, hey, maybe I overreacted about that. I get it. You've explained that to me many times. And I'm like, no, totally valid. Understand why you would be offended by that. Totally get that. How about we change the way that the bed is made so maybe I will be less particular about it. All right, so to figure out where to go from here, I needed to figure out what the things were that I was most particular about with the bed. One, the fitted sheet needs to be on in the right direction. With king beds, sometimes that's a little bit hard to tell, but that's not a big deal. It's easily switched. Have a feeling I will still be making the bed 90 to 95% of the time when I'm at least changing over the sheets. So that's not a big deal. Done. It's really the top sheet or the flat sheet that I tend to be most particular about, and in relation, the blanket on top in relation to the top sheet. So the top sheet, I like using it for a few reasons. One, just so I don't have to wash this blanket as much, the top blanket as much, because the top blankets tend to be a little bit heavier or bulkier, and it's just, I can wash it in my washing machine, but it's kind of a pain in the ass and I don't like doing it. So for the cleanliness factor, because I can easily wash that every single week. Two, I tend to run really hot at night. My body temperature, I feel very warm at night. I exude a lot of heat. And when I'm under covers, obviously that gets trapped because that's how that works. I definitely grew up always having a fan running or having the window open. I predominantly grew up in the Midwest, so having the window open at night was nice because it actually did cool down quite a bit, even in the summer at night. So I'm used to having like cool airflow. So when I get hot at night, I can just fling the top cover off. But I really like having some sort of covering on me. I feel very exposed, kind of not unsafe necessarily, but not secure when I don't have at least something covering me. So the top sheet serves that purpose where it's not trapping a bunch of heat for me, so I'm cool enough to sleep, but also still covered, right? So it's a temperature thing and like a feeling secure thing. So those are the reasons why I have continued to use a top sheet after, moving out on my own, because I know a lot of people do not use a top sheet because they're a little bit fussy. Not the people, the top sheets. So I realized I cannot have any wrinkles, any bumps, nothing like that. The top sheet, the flat sheet has to be pristinely flat, no wrinkles, and it needs to be completely even, where like fully around the bed, each side needs to have the same amount of overhang. The foot needs to have a certain amount of overhang in relation to the bed frame. So flat, completely even all around. And then the top blanket needs to mimic that, of course. So obviously someone could take the time and learn that. That is not, it's not hard to do. It's not brain surgery, right? You just look and you make sure that shit's even and that it's flat. Not a big deal, right? But I have to verify that it is done that way. And that's where the like kind of crazy controlling part comes in. But it's a sensory thing. If there are any wrinkles in there, like it is so epically uncomfortable for me. I know I've shared this before, but I was diagnosed with ADHD earlier this year. And while that came as a big surprise because I just didn't know much about ADHD, I always thought that was something that little boys who like couldn't sit still in school and that sort of thing. The stereotypical very non-nuanced view of ADHD, because it felt like a new thing when I was growing up, and those were the only folks who were being diagnosed with it. So I just thought, oh, that's not something I could ever have. Like, I don't feel like that. But yeah, sensory overload is very much a thing, or being highly sensitive to sensory input is a thing. And it's like, oh, this is why I don't like how certain clothes feel, and like how I have to have my socks put on a certain way, or my tights or my hose put on a certain way. Why I need that sheet to be that exact length on all of the sides and like not have any wrinkles in it. Why I just grew up thinking that my hearing was better than everyone because everyone listened to everything so effing loud compared to how I listened to stuff, and it was like too much for me to take. Or I just assumed going outside or going into areas with really bright lights, I wanted to wear sunglasses, and I just thought, oh, it's because I have very light colored eyes and light colored skin, so like the sun and the lights are just like beaming the crap out of my eyes. All of these things to realize later in life, oh, I bet that's part of an ADHD thing. So glad the diagnosis has at least, you know, explained some reasons of why I am the way I am. So that long, rambling mess is why today we're going to be changing out my bed. If you watched my goals for 2025 video, one of my main goals in there for relationships was paying more attention to improving my marriage, getting the marriage back to the place where we want it to be and to go from, because we are coming out of a season of having very, very, very small children where I have a hard time focusing on multiple things at a time. I get very hyper-focused on certain things. And my hyper-focus during the past few years has been my kids. And that was at a point where it needed to change, where I wanted it to change. My husband agreed that it needed to change. So we have both been working on our relationship and getting it to the place where we want it to be going forward. I haven't talked about that a lot in my videos because it's not completely my story, and I want to respect my husband's privacy with that. But this kind of killing the mood essentially the other day really bummed me out, because we have been both working hard and improving our marriage and like paying more attention to each other. Tonight we're actually going on a date. It's a work function for him, but it's a nice dinner. We're going to be able to sit down, not be interrupted by children constantly needing something. So that will be nice. But this is my way kind of showing him, hey, I'm at a point now where if this is going to be a thing, even if it's just a small thing, like if I can make a change and improve that and grow personally, and that will help our relationship in the end, even if it's just a small way, like I want to do that. So what I did was, I think since the top sheet or the flat sheet is the thing that I am the most fussy about, I'm going to try to get a bed set up where we don't use the top sheet. So like I said before, that's kind of a big deal for me for the reasons I listed before about why I like using a top sheet. But I did go online and I ordered a duvet cover. That's what this guy is. And a comforter insert for this. Together they were, with tax, it was about $60. So I felt like that was reasonable for a king size duvet cover and comforter insert. To see if it goes all right. And I asked my husband and he's like, yeah, pick what other color you like. I don't care. I'm not that picky, which accurate. So we got this. I unpacked the comforter and it has been fluffing in the other room after coming out of its vacuum seal. So we're going to do that and I'm going to see how it goes. The duvet cover will allow me to like keep the bedding as clean as I would prefer it to be without the top sheet. The thing I'm concerned about is the heat and covering issue. The comforter I got is supposed to be like all season, so we will see how that works. But let me stop chatting. I have an accurate mug for today. Shit's about to get real. I'm going to see if I can put the comforter into this duvet cover because I've actually never done that before. So I will be right back. Okay, y'all, here's the comforter. It's been fluffed up. Let me take the top sheet and this other blanket off. And we're just gonna fling it over here. All right, so I'm just gonna tidy this bottom part a little bit. And let's see how this goes in. It should have, okay, has loops in the corners here. And I need to figure out which way is which on both of these. And I might just mark it on the tag after I figure that out. I feel like traditionally the tag goes in the bottom right. Well, let me just drape it on here and see how it drapes. I know the overhang is not going to be nearly as much as the other one because I feel like the other one was a little bit oversized. Okay, that doesn't feel like it fits that way. Let's do it this way. So I think with this one it should just cover until the bed frame on each side. Let's see. All right, that looks like that'll fit that way. Let's do that. Ouch, I scratched myself too hard. With, there's like no clean spot to put stuff. Tea break. I would assume that the zipper on this would be at the bottom, right? As in bottom, correct? And maybe so that the flap is on the top part. One other thing I can see being problematic about this for my particularness, I guess we'll say, is if the comforter shimmies around in this a lot. I don't think it should. Okay, I think that is the way it goes. I don't think it should too much because it does have ties in the middle of each side and in the corners. So hopefully that will keep it in place. All right. Guess the best way to do this is maybe turn it inside out. Oh, that's good. It has the tag there, so the tags will match up on the bottom left side. Have to remember that. All right. There's that. Let me get my hand up in this corner here. All right. And I'll probably speed this part up because assuming it's pretty boring and I always already chatted your ear off for something like 15 minutes or whatever. Probably more than any of you cared to know about me, but you know what? You could always just click away if you're not interested. Do any of you have, where is it? It's right there. Do any of you have something that you're really particular about like that around the house, in life in general, where you're just like, please don't, I don't want help. I know this is like not the most healthy thing ever to be so particular about this, but kind of don't give a crap at this point about changing. I know I was definitely very, not that she needs me to be proud of her by any means, but I was really proud of Beth from Feral Tradwife, and I know she is very proud of herself because she has expressed that, but she used to wash the dishes before putting them in the dishwasher. And I totally got it. And maybe that's because I do have ADHD and I do have these particular things like this. So it's kind of like, yeah, understand why you would do that. You're washing the dishes and then you're putting them in the dishwasher and sanitizing them. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. Does it take way more time? Sure. But I mean, if you have the time and that's what makes you happy and feel like your dishes are clean, like, why not do it that way? But yeah, she had so many people in her comments being like, you don't need to wash the dishes before you go in the dishwasher. And, you know, it's going to save you so much time. And she finally got to the point of like, well, let me just try to do it this other way and see if I can live with it. Okay, so maybe go do this top part first. But she ended up trying it and was able to switch how she did that. And now she's able to keep her house cleaner more easily because it's not taking her so much time to do the damn dishes all the time. You know, to double wash them essentially. So I feel like that has also kind of inspired me to, instead of just living with the status quo as it is and apologizing to my husband and, you know, leaving it at that, it did kind of inspire me to try to make this change. Yes, it's a small change, but hopefully it will be good. If you guys have any advice about how to do this more efficiently, please let me know. I mean, I guess it's not that bad because it's just doing it once a week. And I won't have to do it every night, you know, like I do with adjusting the top sheet. All right. I guess shove that back in there. All right. Where is it? All right, that's that top corner. It's also like those, what are they called? The infomercials from the 80s and 90s with the guy who's like struggling to open the milk carton. And he ends up like, even though it's like, you just tear the part apart and then squeeze it and it makes a nice triangular opening. I think most milk doesn't even do that these days. They put that little plastic cap on it. I don't know if that keeps the milk fresher longer or what, but anyway, apparently it used to be an issue, and they would have these infomercials selling these things to essentially do what the plastic caps do now. You would stab it into the side, and you know, then you could just unscrew it each time you needed the milk. But they're struggling with it, and then they end up like ripping the carton in half instead of just opening it like a normal person. And then there's always that line, there's got to be a better way. I'm sure there is a much better way to do this. So please go down in the comments and leave your tips and tricks for putting a duvet in the cover down there for me so I can learn and be better. All right, did I already put, I think I put that corner in. I'm so confused about how this is fitting in here now. Did I put that corner in yet? Yes, okay, that corner is in. So I just need this bottom side in. And then I guess I'll see if I can flatten it out before zipping it up in case I need to adjust it in there. Also, go down in the comments below. Let me know if you like these more chatty, get to know you kind of videos. Talking about things that I struggle with, that y'all might struggle with. I mean, you probably don't have a making the bed thing. I feel like that's not as common for other people, but maybe you have something else that you're super particular about. All right, where's the corner of this? There it is. I'm already kind of hating this a little bit, but I'm trying to keep an open mind. And I did just change the actual sheets yesterday, I think. So I'm not changing that fitted sheet. I'll leave those off there until guess we'll put the shams on. Oh, I definitely need to zip this up, don't I? Forgot about that. Apologies if you can hear Max licking himself in the background. It is that time of year where he's gotten a lot of mosquito bites and stuff. Okay, here they are. And honestly, I don't know how diligent I'm going to be about putting these shams on here every morning. My husband actually doesn't use that king size pillow. It's like too tall for him, too like plush for how he sleeps. So he uses the flatter pillow to actually sleep on. So that one can stay in it, but I actually do use this pillow. And you know what? I have a decorative pillow that I think will match this, which is kind of why I chose this color. Put his lumpy pillow there. Let's see. Might be too much of the same color, but I guess it's similar. It's not the same. Look, y'all, I'm officially an influencer. I've decorated instead of just making the bed. Look at that. All right, I don't think that looks too bad. We will see how hot I am tonight. Maybe I'll just have to turn up the fan higher or something, but I will keep you updated. If you're at all interested about how this goes, I'll probably just do a community post, or maybe I'll film a short and post it off schedule. But we're trying to grow over here. We're trying to make improvements, trying to make the home a welcoming place for all folks, and, you know, embrace teamwork and not ruining the mood. Okay. Thank you so much for watching. If you stuck all the way through this, I actually don't know if there are going to be any parts that I will speed up, since I did kind of chat with you the whole time. If you've made it all the way to the end, please like, please subscribe, please hit the notification bell. Go down in the comments, let me know if there is a much more efficient way to get that comforter and this duvet cover, because I will be doing that on a weekly basis, at least for a little while, to try it out. And I would appreciate your help if that's what you do. Also, if you don't sleep with the top sheet and you get hot at night but still want to be covered, if there are ways that you deal with that, that would also be fantastic if you can let me know. All right, I will see you next time. Thanks so much. Bye.